Am I on the right path?
There are a lot of things that we could say about this, and we're going to begin here. There is a misunderstanding that many humans have about this idea of being on the right path. And you often describe it when particularly you are in a moment of confusion as feeling as though you are at a fork, a cross in the roads, a choice between two things. And we want you to know that what is actually more true than that is that at every single point in your path, you have many, 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 many options. And you'll take another step. And again, you'll have many, 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 many options. And as you start to A, build the sense of safety in yourself, and B, start to relax some of the tensions that you have around getting things wrong or right, you start to be more subtly aware of the many, 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 many options that are available for you in each moment of your existence. There is not one right path. There is no such thing as that. But the reason you sometimes get confused and believe that there is a right choice versus a wrong choice is because there are ways in which some paths are more aligned for you. And so in a crude way, that feels as though it is right instead of wrong for you. But we want you to know that there are many, 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 many options in each and every moment. And there is no way in which you will make a wrong choice and screw your life up forevermore. There are many humans that live with the tension of that as they create their choice points moment to moment, moment to moment. You are always being given many opportunities. And this idea, this feeling inside of you that most of you have about there is a right and a wrong ends up creating bondage. So it is almost as though your ankles are tied together and you can only take little steps rather than feeling like you can leap mountains, which is something that is actually available to you. The process of really connecting in with yourself and your own intuitive guidance and wisdom as in the form of this is what feels right to me for now. We would even encourage you to change the phraseology. This is what feels light to me for now, so that you start to disentangle the feeling of there is a right and there is a wrong. You will start to calibrate moment to moment, moment to moment to what it is that is really calling you. And that is the sense that you are feeling right now that is making you feel confused. You feel as though you are being called in many directions and it's almost like you're spinning on the spot, unsure of where to go. But there is something else here that it will help you to have clarified, and we will assist you with that now. The things that you are contemplating as your options here are much more similar than what they look to you on the surface. There is a blending, actually, coming to wholeness that is being sought by the deeper aspects of you between the light, joyous play and the more serious, heavy work. There are many of you who do your work with a level of feeling that it is responsible and grown up and serious. And that is something that is being transformed now on your planet. But it is a little bit of a rough ride to move from the old model to the newer model, where you are a conscious adult working through life, playing through life, rather than making life work. As you start to incorporate some of that lighter, more playful energy in the more serious endeavors that you are undertaking, what you will actually be bringing is more space, more expansion, more capability of following the energetic alignment that feels delicious. And that blending is something that we can feel is being called for. We can feel is being called forth from the depths of your soul. So there is nothing for you to be concerned about, confused about. There is nothing for you to percolate in terms of working out the solution to this problem. Because what that does is it marinates your energy field in the energy of problem. And although contemplating what appears to be a problem initially is a productive and helpful thing, you will notice that at some point your mind will start just repeating the same thoughts. So we will give you this counsel. Ponder problems to the extent and the degree that you feel as though you are having fresh thoughts with it. Once those thoughts start to become a little bit more stale, we invite you to consider flipping the script and playing around in what may be solutions, being open to unexpected insights and surprising ideas coming into your system so that you start to percolate in the energy of expansion and clarity and light and joy and play. There is a coming together of the aspects of yourself that you are moving towards. And that's what this is all about.
I have trouble finding trust and thinking that it's the whole trust and just relaxing into it is one element I struggle with. The other is this notion that it must be hard, that earning money must be hard. And it's tiring.
It is.
Any advice? Yeah.
The first thing that we will say to you is that you are not alone here. You may or may not realize that this is something that could be considered a pandemic on your planet at present. The idea that you have to earn the good things and the idea that you are on your own and it is up to you to get it all done. These are both misunderstandings of some profoundly true energetic fundamental principles, and we will explain them here for you, which will allow your mind to feel a level of safety because it will make sense to it. The idea that you have to earn all the things comes from a deeper knowing and understanding that you are always in exchange with the universe. You are always in exchange with the universe. You do it with your food, you do it with your air, but more than that, you do it energetically. But it is not something that you must coordinate and keep a schedule or a spreadsheet about what I have given and what I have received. The process of exchange with the universe is natural. The idea that I have to work hard often comes from a deeply felt need to prove one's worth. And that tends to come up when there is a disconnect from the feeling of total and complete worthiness of self. The total adorability of oneself is something that is like a key. It opens many locks. And many of you are confused as to how to learn to really love yourself. But we will remind you that if you look at a baby, if you look at a young child, you will notice that they come already pre-built. Inbuilt in them is the connection to how worthy they are of all the things. It is why you see children having tantrums when they are not given what they want, because they cannot fathom that they are not deserving of the thing that they are asking for. And you, dear one, everybody listening, has got that mechanism already within you. It is just that there is a level of disconnect. And we come back now to the other We come back now to the other thing you mentioned around trust. The ability to build up your sense of trust will be much more effective for you if you allow yourself to do that really slowly. And further than that, you will be moving forward much more profoundly into an experience of trust when you stop ignoring or rejecting the parts of you that hold lack of trust. There is a need to soothe the aspects, the energetic pockets that do not feel trust, and they cannot be bullied into opening to trust. There is a process of reconnecting with those aspects that have been consciously and also sometimes subconsciously deemed wrong. As many of you move forward in the spiritual realm and consume content and podcasts and videos about moving forward into conscious creation, there is a fear that is also endemic that allows misunderstanding to percolate and to fester, that hampers your attempts to create the things that you want. That is the idea, the belief, the understanding that you must have positive thoughts and positive feelings only. The idea that when you raise your vibration, you calibrate to being a match to the things that you want is deeply and profoundly true. But the misunderstanding that most humans have on this planet, even conscious people, Medha catches herself in this misunderstanding semi-regularly still even now. And that is not a problem. It is something that is going to become more easeful for all of you. But the moments where you catch yourself are actually moments that are bringing in the possibility for large expansion. And so we encourage you to be rejoiceful of the moments when you catch yourself in the traits or the patternings or the paradigms that you do not consider helpful. And so the feeling that you have that in order to raise your vibration, in order to be a match to the things that you want, creates the misunderstanding that you shouldn't have thoughts and feelings that are the opposite of that, because you will create the thing that you do not want. And the thing that is misunderstood is the fact that the universe responds to all of you. The universe responds to all of you, and not just the parts of you that are thinking the things that you wish all of you was thinking. And the path to building up that sense of trust and also the sense of self-worth, because these two things are connected, the path to doing that is absolutely when you are already feeling in connection with yourself, when you're already feeling worthy and when you're already feeling in trust, build that feeling. That's a wonderful thing to do. But in those moments where the lack of trust comes up, sneaks itself around a corner that you hadn't seen before, and you are able to connect with it and see it, many of you try to silence it, ignore it, because you are scared about what energetic impact that will have on you. And so you disconnect from it and you try and connect more deeply, more loudly, and more profoundly to the part of you that thinks and feels positive about creating the things that you want. And the misunderstanding is that the way to trust is often to turn towards the part of you that have lack of trust. The way to a deep connection with your experience of your own self-worth is sometimes to turn to the parts of you that wonder whether or not you are lovable and worthy. There is a healing that is happening right now on the planet. And to most of you, it looks like everything is almost being burned down to the ground. And although it won't need to get to that level, there is a lot of old repressed baggage, we will say, that is being brought up to the collective consciousness. And the way that that happens is that many of you as individuals have things brought to your own individual consciousness. And as you do the work of playing inside of yourself to find the pockets that you have rejected and to soothe them, that is what healing is. To soothe them, to heal them, and to bring them back into the fold. That is what is going to allow you to not only be able to hear the whispers so that you can make choices easily in the moment, because rather than making a choice with your mind, you are discovering what feels aligned at one when what feels lightest to you. As you do that process, there is also going to be an experience that you will have of having a lot more energy, because you will no longer be using large portions of your energy to resist certain aspects, certain thoughts, certain emotions, certain paradigms that you don't deem valuable or good. We remind you that every single part of you is good. Every single part of you is worthy. Every single part of you is valuable. But that is not something that you can take as a thought based on what we are saying and superimpose it over the top of your consciousness and then pretend that that is how you feel. There is no ability to ignore aspects of self and return to wholeness. That is not possible. What is, however, possible is to learn the skill set of becoming your own best supporter, learning the skill set of being curious about yourself, learning the skill set of being open to hearing all of the aspects of you, becoming open to also meeting the needs of those parts and those aspects. Because when you are disconnected from them, you are not just disconnecting from what you perceive to be negative. You are disconnecting from answers. You are disconnecting from wisdom. You are disconnecting from energy that is yours. You are disconnecting from the guidance that those pockets that you have deemed bad have got, that are actually the key to you moving forward to all the things that you want. And so this confused space that you find yourself currently in is actually yearning from your soul for you to stop actually and not take a step in this moment, so that you can spend some time really profoundly reconnecting with your experience, irrespective of what you are doing in your outside world. There is a shift that is part of what is happening with the collective of humanity, as well as many individuals, where you won't be dismissing the value of the external world, but you will be increasing your understanding of the value of the internal world and the fact that your power lies there, so that you are no longer trying to manage your life based on controlling the external aspects of you, but instead you are working or playing inside of yourself to create the energetic dynamics that you wish to experience, not by rejecting the opposite, but by healing whatever was holding anything that isn't resonant and bringing yourself into wholeness. And as you do that, life will get so much more delicious, so much more joyous, so much more playful, and you will no longer be divided into the serious working you and the playful loving you. You are one. You are one not just with yourself, but with everything and everyone.
Mm-hmm. Because I know when I paint, it's like, wow, there's lots of emotion in me. And it's where the dark, what's been suppressed, comes out, is when I paint. I feel the anger, right? And I don't paint enough based on what you're telling me. It's healing.
It is healing. There is a big opportunity here for you, if you choose it, to take a moment now and celebrate yourself for finding this outlet and this mode of processing. So notice what your communication was and where your energy went. The first thing you said was to honor the fact that you are already doing this and you can feel the resonance of what we are saying and the connection to what you have already found yourself doing. And the second thing you said was somewhat of a criticism of self, of not doing enough. That is part of the patterning that is prevalent among humanity at present. It is coming down on self, a criticizing of self to try and create more expansion. The reason you are saying that you are not doing enough is because you are craving a feeling of healing and flow and expansion and connection to self. But the mechanism by which you tried to get there was criticism of the self. And that is a major pandemic on your planet. That is something that many of the people who are attempting to live in conscious ways, it is how so many of you interact with yourself. You talk to yourself in ways that you would never dream of speaking to anybody else outside of you. And you think that that's right and appropriate. And what you are actually doing is trying to beat yourself into your joy. Beat yourself into your expansion. And then when that doesn't work, you end up feeling powerless because you feel like the system isn't working for you. The energetic idea of the law of attraction and being a conscious creator is not working for you. But that is only because you have a misunderstanding about how to enact the play of the energy in order to make it happen for you. So we will leave you with this. Everything that you are seeking is already inside of you. And we know that to many of you, that can induce an eye roll because you've heard it so many times, but it is not your experience sometimes of your connection to those things. But the reason you are craving all of the things is because they do already live inside you. You are looking to return to a level of wholeness and union with that which you know you are. And so the difficulty and the hardness of the work that you think that you need to do is actually walking yourself in the opposite direction to the things that you wish. And so we are going to warn you that it is likely that you will take what we are saying and use it a few more, possibly 100 times to beat yourself because you catch yourself not doing it the right way. So we return to where we started. There is no right way, but there are more energetically aligned ways. And so we encourage you with so much love that when you catch yourself being in a moment of self-reproach, to stop and to notice what you are doing. Stop and notice what it feels like to talk to yourself that way. And then when you are tempted to come down on yourself for having done the same thing, what you can actually do is take a moment to celebrate the fact that you are conscious enough to see it. And that is a wonderful thing because it is already expansion. It is already growth. And then remember that the reason you are coming down hard on yourself is because ultimately what you want is expansion. And when you do that, you will be creating again and again and again a space where you will have a conscious choice, whether or not you want to maintain the trying to beat self into expansion model or whether you'd like to support yourself into expansion instead. Previous to that moment of having choice, it is somewhat robotic interaction with yourself. It is so habitual that you do not even notice it. It is something that has begun to feel natural and ingrained. But as you bring your consciousness to it and you start to see the impact of it and you start to give yourself a choice, and even if you have come down hard on yourself or coming down hard on yourself or coming down hard on yourself, you can always find a moment of choice at some point. And the moment the choice becomes available, stop and breathe. Take a moment to connect with yourself and the motivation that guided you to be hard on yourself in the first place. At the core of that, what you will discover is self-love and the desire for you to have your best experience. It is just that you're using an old model that no longer works for you, but it has a lot of momentum. So you are training yourself in developing a new skill set, and you are training yourself in building the momentum of that. And over time, as you stay connected to that intention and playfully encourage yourself to love yourself towards your expansion, that will start to become second nature. There will be a tipping point in which you will go from one model being natural to the other one being natural. And we say this to you with so much love. Do not expect it to take as long and be as difficult as what building the old model has been, because it is much harder to create the illusion of unworthiness. It is much harder to create the illusion of lack of power than it is to return to what is natural. You are as deserving as every baby that is born on this planet, and you are just reconnecting to that feeling and that sense for yourself. And you are doing well, and you will continue to do well. We love you. We love you. We love you. Go well.
Thank you.
Oh, they seem to talk for a really long time. How are you feeling?
Actually, really good.
Awesome.
Really good. Yeah. Really good.
Was anything surprising? Did you already know it? Because a lot of people go, oh, I kind of knew that. But then there's like this level of clarity when Oron speaks often.
I guess it's, my background with the whole logical, you don't look for synergies, you look for differences. So it was, okay, this is a false dichotomy. And I do have lots of play in how I sometimes even dig out my wand, my magic wand,
nice.
when I do mediation and people are getting stuck in the past. But I really liked the, this is what feels light to me, as a way of checking into it and to celebrate when I notice that I'm beating myself up. And instead of beating myself up, oh, I should be painting more, it's like, oh, I feel like painting now, so let's paint. And not to force it, right?
Yeah, I've been getting a PhD in not forcing stuff for a while now. I've kind of learned it the hard way a lot. But it's almost like what they said about that tipping point. It's like at some point, it just starts to get so much easier. And I think that point is when we start to really feel safe in not criticizing ourselves. So we criticize ourselves because we do that because we think that that's going to keep us on track and then we'll do better next time. And so we're doing it to enact the goodness that we want for ourselves. And it feels kind of scary to change the model in some ways because it's the old model is so familiar and it's so what society kind of tells us to live. But I feel like once you start to realize that when we genuinely encourage ourselves, like the growth is faster, it's more efficient. Like it's just, I feel like self-acceptance has just changed my growth pattern. I used to work so hard at my spirituality and now I don't, and I'm doing, it's so much easier. It's so much better. And I think that's the tipping point, I think that they were talking about, that where you go, oh, it actually is more effective for me to be kind to myself. Like that changes everything, I think. But it like takes a few stumbles and, like re-emphasizing it again. Like they said, building more of that momentum of a new mode.
And I think what's been happening with me is I am being much kinder to myself than I used to be.
Yeah.
So my inner mean girl, I called her Sister Mary Frances.
Yeah.
She's really been loud lately.
Yeah.
really been loud.
That's interesting that you must be ready for a shift because, you know, that first she's being really loud and then you had this session with Oron and this is what's come up. So it must be time for a shift. If it's coming into your consciousness.
Exciting.
Yeah. I find that.
Like I did some inner critic work a couple of weeks ago. Like I've studied with Sark, and she had 44 complaints about me. She hasn't had 44 grievances in a long time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I wrote counter statements for each one. But yeah, it's, you know, like I'm really good at getting people to move through conflict. But most times it's heavier than some of the writing I do. I really like the writing I do.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great. It came up in me. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I don't know about the inner critic work that you were talking about, but I feel like because it feels like you're ready for a shift and you felt connected to Oron, you might want to check out the Return to Wholeness mini course that I've done with that tells you how to put Oron stuff into actual practice in actual life. So that it's at on my website. So it's like oronandmeda.com/wholeness. If you go there, it's free. It's not overly complicated, but I genuinely feel like that has changed my inner world wildly and therefore my outer world. So in case that's of interest.
Well, because, I do feel that things are.
It's like you're poised.
Yeah, well, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to stop being a lawyer. Not to give up the law, but to actually retire from the practice.
Yep.
Because I know that that's old world thinking that I don't fit. It was killing me.
Fair enough.
So, but the false dichotomy, and
we've got so many of those.
Yeah.
So many of them. That was fabulous. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.